Okay, so our first review of the day is going to be for the film Anora. Anora is the latest Sean Baker film. Sean Baker, people might know him. He directed the movie The Florida Project, Tangerine, Red Rocket. One of his films, the only other film I've seen of his besides this one is Red Rocket, which I loved a lot. That was one of
Mhm.
my favorite movies of the year when it came out. Really, really loved it quite a bit. I have not seen Florida Project or Tangerine, but
They're all sad and depressing.
Tangerine's really good.
It's
yeah.
good, but it is very
Yeah.
sad and depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear they're amazing. I hear they're amazing movies.
They're very good films.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna knock him on his style, but he does have a very much a. Let me talk about a lot of it focuses on prostitution,
Mhm.
edges of society,
Sexual
stuff,
deviancy.
yeah, sexual deviancy, and a lot of different elements of it.
Yeah. And that's kind of what you have here. That's kind of a yeah, if you watch his movies, it seems like a common theme. There are sex workers there. Like you said, very kind of depressing kind of elements that creep in. And that's what you kind of have here with Nora. So Nora here is played by Mikey Madison. Mikey Madison, who people might know, she was in the Quentin Tarantino film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Getting Set on Fire. She was in Scream 5, Getting Set on Fire. She does not get set on fire in this, so luckily she's saved from that fate in this movie. But yeah, so she plays a stripper there, works at this big kind of strip club there. A lot of high rollers come through, and then one day this kind of young Russian oligarch there comes through and basically wines her, dines her there. They kind of have this big kind of whirlwind kind of affection kind of going on for one another there, and they kind of agree to a deal there of kind of her being his girlfriend, and then kind of things kind of spiral from there as far as events kind of coming in with his family. So it's kind of a basic setup for the movie here. It's just a lot about the interaction she has with him and then his family when he comes in, and also kind of these bumbling henchmen that also work for his family. This very prestigious Russian family. We don't exactly know what they do per se. I mean, he's the kid's kind of joking around at one moment. It's like,
Yeah.
are they like, do they have, any?
Oligarch is just like a wealthy person with like multiple businesses from Russia.
Yeah,
Sometimes vaguely mob related.
that's what maybe think a little bit. I mean, he says the kid says, I don't know, maybe they're into guns, so they're like
Yeah.
into weapons, so they sell a lot of weapons to people. So that's how ever they got their money. She kind of questions about that, but yeah, it's kind of your Pretty Woman type of situation here, but more Pretty Woman, more realistic, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
You kind of got that going on. So yeah, I've heard a lot about this movie. A lot of people have been talking about it, how amazing it is, how great it is. I'm gonna pass around to you guys, get your thoughts on it. Dusk, what is your thoughts on Honora?
Boy, howdy, am I saw this first before the red one. As black, there are moments of black comedy in this, where there are moments where you awkwardly kind of go, "Oh my god!" It just escalates and gets worse and worse. This is a pretty small, isolated film by Neon. Neon is kind of like A24. It's a hit and miss factory. Sometimes you get something that's really good. Sometimes you get something that's really out there, but they do take chances. I think I would say this is more hit than miss, and it really comes down to the acting in the film, and specifically with Mikey Madison as Honora, or Annie, as she's referred to, and honestly, she's mostly holding this movie along with Mark Ignolstein. I don't. I'm just gonna call him Mark. Uh, I believe it's Edelstein, but regardless of it, they're basically the two big ones. But really, it's Mikey Madison that's really being the main focus of this movie. And yeah, you guys have said it pretty much. This is basically Russian Pretty Woman, and it ends like a Russian story. You think we would uh, broken, sad, and just why did I watch this?
Mm.
But hey, got some good acting in the middle of it. We got to see some lady bits, which hey, not too bad, and got to go to Las Vegas, which is fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie is very much playing with its tones and settles on being very dramatic and with some romantic overtones, but really it's a sour romance in a manner of speaking. And whether you're into that or whether someone's into that, this can be I think this is a solid movie, but this is not a date movie. Don't. I would not recommend this as a date movie.
No, go to Strange Darling instead. First date movie.
What about you, Mike? What do you got to say about Anora?
I absolutely adored this movie. Almost like a reverse Cinderella movie in many respects, with some just fantastic performances, but also like I really love this movie because like it's nice. It does kind of remind me of like a lot of people I grew up around, like culturally wise, if that makes sense. Of like, because takes place like Brighton Beach. I'm not from Brighton Beach, but it's like I do have like a lot of family from Eastern Europe, and I do kind of like and like friends from like Eastern Europe. I do kind of like get this vibe of like the whole stuff of like everyone's in the thing like yelling a different language, and this is kind of the same thing of like all Sean Baker's movies of like they all feel like uncomfortable and gross, but because it's in such a relatable manner, and this can be seen in all of them, of like when characters are like having a big argument and stuff like that. It's not like quite the Tarantino argument, or it's just like one person goes and another person gives like the perfect retort and all that stuff. It's like, oh no, everyone's yelling at the same time trying to get their point in. Points are like they collide at different moments, and like you get someone speaking like a different language and someone speaking like another language, and just like yelling off screen, stuff like that. Just really one of maybe my favorite movie of the year. And it has like one of the like, nicer, I don't want to say it's the nicest Sean Baker movie. It's not very nice, but it does have like more moments of like,
oh, this is by far the nicest movie.
Yeah.
Let's not even mix bones.
Yeah.
This is by far like there's actually moments of humanity in this movie. Every other project he's done, they're all just horrible, awful people, and
Vanya would be the main character.
Yeah.
Here we have more like, she's a person that can be kind of annoying, but like in a realistic manner.
You understand where she's coming from.
Yeah, of course. Well, Vanya's just like just a spoiled, like shitty, like boyfriend, if you could even call him that. Is just
he's an extremely defeated young man who is aimless, and at first you kind of go, wow, you have pretty much and then you meet his parents, and then you understand, you go, oh,
yeah,
he's never been allowed to grow up because they don't want him to. They want him to fit into a piece. So he actually is kind of weirdly a better person when he's away from them, but the moment they show up, he just locks down. He's basically a puppet.
Yeah. I love seeing the stuff here like Brighton Beach because it's a huge neighborhood in New York, where it's like has a lot of like Russian, Ukrainian immigrants and stuff like that. Some stuff kind of actually took me by surprise. Like I think this is the first time in an American movie I've heard the word Gopnik before, which is like it's kind of slang for like a Russian or like Ukrainian like thug who's like
they have a very specific way to dress, black sweatshirts, black zippers. Yeah.
They're known for like the weird squat.
Yeah, the weird squat. I think the first time I heard Gopnik was actually in GTA 4.
Yeah,
because Niko Bellic, and he's Yugoslavian, and then there's some Russian gangs as well, and so that kind of like a lot of his early attire is very almost kind of weird. Before the Gopnik meme became that thing, it was very like already introduced it, but that was probably the first time I heard it. But yeah, very much that's brought up. It's very much Eastern European and Russian as well included into this. So which usually doesn't get brought into American cinema too much.
No, or at least like not as authentic as this. We also got like Armenian stuff, and like people do their own like they have their own like is different, and like
everybody in the Balkans do their own thing.
Yeah. Everyone like also like Annie herself, like she also says that like her Russian's like shit, which is like she's like, no, you can speak it, but I'm not going to speak it back because my Russian shit. It's like, I kind of get that, lady. It's like whenever anyone tries to speak Polish to me, it's like, I'm not going to say it back in Polish just because it's like, I don't want to do that shit.
Yeah.
Or like when you do meets, I did come across a guy who needed help, and like he said, "What's your name?" I said, "Michael." He's like, "My name's Misha. Do you know what Misha means in Russia?" I'm like, "That means Michael." And he's like, "You speak Russian?" I'm like, "I know." So and he tried to speak to me in Russian. It's like, I can't. You're speaking too fast, dude.
Um, yeah, that's what this movie does. It really explores a lot of the kind of Russian kind of culture there in New York, that kind of neighborhood, that side of town there. The language of the movie, it bounces back between English and Russian because you have a lot of that because the character obviously is playing a Russian there. He's a Russian, and then Russian family members, Russian people that work for his family. So you have that kind of going on in the movie.
One of the guys is literally called Igor.
Yeah, that's kind of a stereotypical name, like that or Ivan would be.
Ironically, he's one of the nicest
Yeah,
people in the movie.
yeah, maybe the nicest Sean Baker character.
Yeah, he's not a complete degenerate piece of
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah, it's like this
Um,
kid. Yeah.
And really, when you watch something like this, it kind of reminded me of the Safdie brothers movie Uncut Gems. It reminded me a little bit of
Mm,
that.
Oh yeah, I can easily see
I can
that.
see that.
And if this was the Safdie brothers movie, the ending probably would have been a lot darker.
Yeah.
Probably if this was a Safdie brothers movie, but something like that, especially like the city really kind of feels
Mhm.
alive there in this movie there. Much like with something like Anora there, of her going around, like them trying to look for him, and then them kind of bouncing around all these
Yeah.
different spots there, meeting
That's
all
the
these people.
thing about Sean Baker movies, of like the fact that like a big part of the characters and stuff are like background characters and stuff are like actual people, and some of even like the actors are just like random people he finds like off the street. I think Red Rocket was a noble thing with that because I think,
Yes, very much so.
yeah, one of the actors in that was a porn star for some time, like the main
Mhm.
guy. And like there's also like the mother of the girlfriend that I think she would just like she only acted one other thing that he liked, and he approached her. He's like, "Hey, well, do this." She's like, "I guess."
Mhm. And you get that sense, like, when they're meeting people, like, in the town looking for someone, or when they're in a restaurant or everything, like, everything feels kinda, these are, like, not really actors, these are just people that you just kinda picked up, like, you get
Mhm,
kinda more of that sense, which is also something the Safdie brothers, that's also something they'll do,
mhm,
in their movies, and then also this movie kinda a lot of it reminded me also of the movie Zola, which came out a few years ago as well,
mhm.
kinda that kinda craziness as well, and both these movies a lot of it takes place kind of within a short period of time,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Only like, just kind of this really chronicling this wild night there. And then that's kind of like what's happening with
yeah,
Honora there. Just
yeah,
kind of this, her going
mm,
around with these henchmen,
yeah,
trying to look for the her husband there,
yeah,
which I thought was
yeah. Not to this level, but like it's also like it feels more exhaustive than like a movie that takes place like over the course of like 10 days, but it's because it's like you've had like that. Most people have had like a night like this of like something just goes wrong. They're just spending the whole night looking, like trying to fix something, and they don't go to sleep until like 5 the next day.
uh, yeah, because
Uh,
this is nonstop. Yeah, you're just up with these people. And, Mikey Madison, I mean, like Dust was saying, I mean, she really
oh,
shines,
yeah.
in this movie, and I could definitely see her easily get nominated for this performance there. I think right now, I would say she's the front runner, I guess. I mean, I don't see anybody really else that's for
Yeah.
best actress that I see right now that would,
Mhm.
who else would be the front
Willa
runner?
Fitzgerald from Strange Darling, maybe, is the only one I could think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, man, they're not nominating that.
No,
They
no.
not they're not gonna nominate
Come
that
on,
genre
man.
movie.
Come on.
Yeah.
I hear Cersei Ronan in Outrun. I hear she's pretty great in that. I haven't seen that, but I hear she's really great in that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, she's really fantastic. I mean, she's really one of the main things that's kind of like kind of driving this film, holding this film together. There, her performance, and the movie's also darkly funny
Mhm.
as well, which is also really good there too. And it's just kind of you're waiting for that other shoe to drop and to see what's kind of going to happen, and you're always, I think, looking to see what's going to happen next. Dusk. What about you?
Uh, I guess we'll kind of wrap it up. A lot of it kind of just stem on this just a romantic tryst that goes on, and then it then shapes up to just being a weird. All right, we got to find the AKA groom, almost like Hangover, but more of Hangover 2, where nothing goes right, and you kind of feel a little
Yeah.
disgusted watching it, and then by the end you go, well, I've seen other Sean Baker movies. I didn't despise everyone, so I guess that's something. But you can't deny that they did some, or everybody did a great job, or at least um, the woman who plays Anna, she just really is able to kind of carry it for most of it. Really, honestly, it's mostly just her and back and forth, and just the weird awkwardness that kind of propels you forward. Based on all that, though, with all that said, as much as I like this film, like a lot of Sean Baker movies, I don't know how much
You're gonna rewatch
audiences
it?
are gonna like this movie or watch it. Compared to his other ones, this is probably the most palatable. Someone can, it's palatable, I would say. Someone could actually digest it. Maybe The Florida Project being the second most.
Tangerine got a lot of awards.
Tangerine did, but it was also very. It was also not as many people watched it. This one, I do have a feeling like they could. This one could kind of reach more people than.
So apparently, this is gross so far 17.2 million worldwide
on a $6 million budget.
It's become his highest grossing movie.
Well, that speaks to it already. I kind of got the feeling on that. It has a lot more specific themings. Not as specific things, but a lot more general themings, while still being about a specific culture. And a lot of the characters do speak to that kind of environment, and he does it in an authentic way. Honestly, I'd probably give this, because all that's being said, I'd probably give this probably a high tune in. I enjoyed the movie as it is, but I will be intrigued to seeing how other people will react to it. Like a lot of the mainstay regular audience members, because I've seen others' work, so I have other things to compare it to. But I think a lot of people will at least like the main character and at least relate to her in that area. And I think the movie was able to kind of stand on its own because of it.
Well, they showed the movie in front of sex workers, and then they
Nice.
gave it a clapping heels ovation there, where they clapped their heels together. So I don't know if anybody, have you seen that at all?
I saw the Twitter of that, or like the TikTok of that. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, sure.
Oh yeah, didn't they get like also free? I mean, that's pretty cool. Of like they got like free tickets, because he's like, it's about sex workers. Why don't you come on in here? I don't think Sean.
What kind of voice was that? What you?
Hey, come here, Dal.
What kind of voice doing?
Just a man with a cigar, like a 1950s.
I'm gonna make some money. You ain't.
Oh, geez, okay. Went into character for that. All right. Yeah. So, what would be your final thoughts rating for ANORA there, Mike?
I really, really love this movie. I think it's going to be a movie that kind of like stands test of time on a lot of Sean Barker's movies, and I think it's just also going to connect with people, kind of like in a weird way of like, this is a weird comparison, but almost like I do remember seeing people like talk about like watching stuff like what's an example of it, of like The Turning Red, and like how like a lot of like Asian Americans talk about like, oh yeah, I have parents from like China. It's like it's tough, like it's more embarrassing, but like I have to go from stuff with them. Kind of like this. I think this could be a thing for like a lot of like some like Eastern European families and stuff like that. They're like much darker, more adult. And I
Probably
think
more authentic too.
Yeah. I was like, yeah. Granted, also, well, like most of it would not be this bad for the most part, but like, yeah, definitely, really, really, like not fun, but like really, just a great movie that I loved watching. That I felt exhausted, like just when this movie ended. Like I needed to get food after it, or you just feel kind of like cold and like a little shitty and like a little sad afterwards, and like you don't like hate anyone the way you would like a more kind of traditional villain, because they're like even the most hateable characters in here are just like almost just so pathetic that it's tough to like really hate them. It's just like you're such a child. Uh, but yeah, I can't wait to watch this movie. I wonder what impact it's going to have. Of like, are more people like? Is that almost like going to start like tourist attractions to a degree to like certain places of like Brighton Beach? But yeah, I give this movie actually like kind of like a big peak actually for now.
Okay. Yeah. I can see why a lot of people were talking about this movie the way they were talking about it. I think it is really good. Really, I'd say great. There, and that is due to. I mean, everybody does a wonderful job in this movie, up and down. But really, such a stellar performance from Mikey Madison. Like I said, I could definitely see her get nominated for
Mhm.
this, due to her performance in this. Um, and not to mention, someone else there who we didn't mention there. Actually, we did mention them a little bit there, but the guy that plays,
Marcus?
Igor,
Oh,
Yuri, Borzov there, who's one of the henchmen. I would love to see him get a Best Supporting nod,
mhm.
because I think he is that good in
Oh
this
yeah.
and kind of what his character develops into. I greatly enjoyed that a lot, and I think he's fantastic in this movie as well.
Mhm.
And like I said, the humorous moments in there where everybody's bouncing off each other when it's her and the other guys, the henchmen there. I think that's really great moments.
Humor comes
Uh,
a bit more from Taurus and his brother.
yeah.
Uh,
So I think those moments really work and do so well there. And Sean Baker, the way he kind of portrays, sex workers, or portrays kind of these people, he doesn't demonize them. He doesn't, kind of romanticize it. He just kind
mhm.
of presents it as it is, and kind of the realities, of that. And I think,
I mean,
that's
he's an expert at this point.
yeah, I mean, yeah, he's done back to back to back to back movies about him.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to kind of get into that life there. And is it kind of more uplifting or nicer than something like Red Rocket? I mean, the ending of Red Rocket, I mean, I cheered at the ending because fuck that dude. I mean, fuck,
Yeah.
fuck him in that movie. So I was like, yeah, I mean, that is a little bit more uplifting to me. It's a little bit more happier for me as an ending there
Mm.
compared to this. But yeah, I haven't seen Florida Project. I haven't seen Tangerine, so I don't know how those movies go.
Tangerine also, both it and Florida Project have probably, I would probably say Red Rocket has the most ambiguously ending. Tangerine also ends on, it's kind of a downer, but it it's a natural end to where the story started and ending. It's probably the most natural ending of them. Florida Project is a little more hopeful, ambiguously hopeful, but you're like, where are they going to go?
Mhm.
Mm,
Kind of a situation. This one is sad. This one's more, it's bitter,
Mhm.
kind of sweet, but you just kind of know. Well, you don't know what's going to happen afterwards, but you also kind of know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
and you just feel bad.
Mhm.
You just feel sad in a way that's not like like you're not depressed. You just go, man.
Yeah, like almost like healing a stab wound to a degree. If like it's fine now, I guess, but it's like still there. We all know
Yeah.
what happened. Uh,
yeah. And then also just showing the culture of
Oh yeah.
Russians
oh
there
yeah,
in New York.
yeah. It is the the New York equivalent of the Russian version of the Scott Pilgrim comic when it comes to of the how that's Canada
Oh,
representation. This is this is Russian American representation.
that's actually a really good way to put it. If
Mhm.
you compared this to yeah, the Scott Pilgrim movie
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
anything else they do, and then you actually read the novel, graphic novel of it, and you're like, oh yeah,
yeah,
that's real Toronto.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they try to rough off the edges of the actual novel where it's yeah, they're all
Yeah,
assholes.
it does have that thing as well, like a lot of Sean Baker movies of like this character is weird and skeevy and gross, but either in a way that can trick someone of this age or in this status class, or like
Basically, yeah,
yeah,
they have no experience with that individual, and so they kind of
yeah,
fall for it. But even they
yeah,
recognize there's
hmm
something weird about
yeah.
them.
Scott's a 24-year-old bad guy who's unemployed and mooches off his friend. Who can he impress? A 17-year-old.
Pretty much, and the movie doesn't shy, and that movie doesn't shy away from just making you feel uncomfortable the entire time.
So for me, I would give Anora. I'd give it a. I give it a P. I give it a P.
Mm.
For me. So yeah, Mike with the gave it a kind of a mid peak there for that, and then Dust gave it a tune in. You want to give it a strong tune in, or are you good with just a tune in for
I'm just
Anora?
good with the tune in.
Tune in. Okay.